Hi and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be giving this pot a makeover. This is our favourite pot in the garden and it's now about to be turned into something really special for the summer. This pot has been like this for a while now. Now the primulas that are in here have finished flowering. It just needs to be rejuvenated. Look at it. It's great, but it's just foliage. There's so much foliage and we really need to do something with it. I just think it's time for a change. And so with some television magic, I'm going to clear the container. Isn't television fantastic? Now, these are our plants. We've got a different mix of colours going on here. We've got Gaura. Now this is a beautiful white Gaura. We've got Nemesia, which is the pink. That brings us the pink, and Nemesia is gorgeously scented. It's absolutely stunning to look at, and the scent is divine as well. And we've also got a poppy in there, and this one is called Pop Up Yellow. So Papaver Pop Up Yellow, and we have included, I should say, an African Marigold. Now these will be fantastic at keeping the aphids at bay as well, especially while we have the rose in the container. This rose is doing really well. It's got 3 buds on there and it's an absolutely beautiful one. It's called Nostalgia and it's a very special one. It was a gift to me and it never fails to excite me. When these buds open, it blooms, never fails to excite, and the scent is divine. This pot is at the front door of the house. I want it to be really special and welcoming, and I just know that this is going to do the trick. I can't wait to get these in. At the minute you can only see the Nemesia flowering, but I'm telling you now, when you've got the pink of the Nemesia, you've got the African Marigold there with the yellow in, we've got the Gaura, beautiful white plumes I should say, because really they're a very nice plant, very pretty plant. I know we used to grow one called Gaura the Bride, and that was absolutely amazing. Gaura is a beautiful plant. And our poppy here, so with our lovely yellow in, again bringing the yellow through with the African Marigold. So we've got the yellow, the white, the delicate pink, and the rose, which is absolutely gorgeous. Now let's get planting. This is the really exciting bit, because as gardeners, I mean, to me personally, the best thing is getting the plants in the ground, or in the pot, as the case is today. So I've also used some of this Grow More. This is fantastic. We do recommend it. So if you can get some online or from the garden centre or plant centre, get some Grow More in, because that just helps just give the plants some nutrients. Obviously there's fresh compost going in here as well. It's already topped up to a certain level with fresh compost, and fresh compost is going to go on the surface, but Grow More will help feed the plants as well and give that continual release of nutrients to the plants, because they do need that. Remember, they're not in the ground, they're in a container, so you need to feed them. If you stop feeding your containers, chances are you're going to run into issues sooner or later. Plants are not going to be doing as well as what they should do, and especially when you have a container with roses in. There's a video that I did on this when I planted this rose in this container, and basically roses are very hungry plants. They need to be fed a lot, but all these plants are, you know, it's just going to keep them flowering better and keep them happy in their home. It's a bit like us living in the, you know, at home and not eating and stuff like that. Do you know what? They need food just like we do. Right, so I'm going to put a few more of these granules around. Okay, so just around the pots, around the rows especially, and then I'm going to start planting. This is the best bit. I do have to be very careful. I am a very clumsy person, so I do tend to just grab hold of things, and I've always been like that. Oh, that's perfect. Look at the roots on that, and they've been watered well as well. I'm just releasing or teasing some of those roots. It looks a bit brutal, but that's the thing to do. Last thing you want is roots going round and round and round in a pot and then planting them the same way. You do need to release them a little bit like that, give them some freedom. So I'll start by popping these in, so just pushing them down, and then what I'll do is I will have the compost, add the compost around the plants as they've been planted. Now, because this is the back of the pot, and obviously this is the front, notice something. How I've just placed that in is actually wrong, because our blooms are facing backwards. So remember, you do need to sometimes perhaps go and stand at the front and see how you're doing, as in the look, on the look stakes, because you want the pot to look amazing. Last thing you want to do is just shove a load of plants in them all look higgledy-piggledy. Remember, this is art. This is a form of art, and we want things to look good, and they will look good so long as we take the care when planting up the pot. Now, Gaura. Oh, this is beautiful. This is going to be beautiful. If you can just see. Very delicate. Remember, once we did a garden design for a lady that wanted her garden. Basically, the theme of the garden was a white garden. So it was white. And literally we included lots of Gaura in there. And she absolutely loved it. Lots of other plants, obviously, as well. Look at the roots on this. Amazing. Do like to release them. That's what I'd want if I was a plant. Now remember, again, look how that looks. Remember, we need to turn that around a little bit, like that. That's the better angle, so that when someone's looking at the pot from the front, it will look better on this angle. What I'm going to do is just take a little bit of compost away there, because that is far too high. Remember, we do not want plants placed right to the top, compost placed along the top level, and every time it rains or it's watered the pot, soil just cascades over the side. That's the last thing we want. It's easy to do. I've seen so many situations in gardens, just place that down firmly. It's okay, it's not hurt or anything. Plant's not hurting. I've seen that happen so many times where people have just filled containers to the top and beyond with soil, mounded it up, and then they're wondering why the soil's cascading over, the plants are not happy. It's not good. It's not a good look. It's not a good effect. Now, what I am going to do, nice wood lice there. He's going to go back on the garden in a bit. He might go back in the pot because that's where he's come from originally. I'm going to put this marigold in. African marigolds are beautiful. My mum used to grow these. She used to have marigolds in the garden. That's my earliest memory of my mum, doing gardening, was marigolds in the garden at the back. She used to do that. Now that could go a little bit higher. So yeah, so it's just about staging. Look, it's art. We want it to look good, and it's just staging. So sometimes you've got to dig some of the compost out to place the plants in. Sometimes you need to raise the level up a little bit, and that's okay. That's fine. I'm going to go over to the Nemesia. Now this one is called Coral Kiss, and you can see why. It's so delicate, it's beautiful. Coral Kiss. It's a lovely coral colour, and the scent, vanilla. A lovely vanilla scent. You can't beat that. Coral Kiss, what a lovely name. Oh, let me show you the label. But you can see the plant itself. You don't need to see labels really. You can see that plant. Just look at that. So you can see the coral in it, the colour, and then that kiss. Beautiful. And that vanilla scent. Obviously, we can have the scent of the rose and the scent of the Nemesia as well, so that's wonderful. It makes up for the other plants because obviously the other plants are not scented in that way. The marigold, the African marigold, will definitely keep the aphids at bay, and that's what we want when we've got a rose growing like this. Last thing we want is plants, roses covered with aphids. So that will certainly keep them away from this pot. It will put them off. It's a deterrent. Now remember, I'm behind. I'm sort of kneeling behind the pot, but I can see, I know how this is going to look. So I can see visually that will look quite pleasing from the front. And because we've got some smaller blooms coming through there, just try and straighten them out. Now Nemesia, this is a very gentle plant. So it's one that wouldn't like to be manhandled by me, literally. I need to be very, very careful here what's going on. Now, so we've got our poppy in there as well. That's the first one, that's looking great. So yeah, I think if I move that along slightly, move the marigold around a little bit, I think that's really good. Obviously, I'm not going to put, and I'm saying obviously, it might not be obvious to some people, but there's a reason why I'm not planting up behind the rose. When this pot is against the wall at the front of the house, it's not going to get that much light behind. Also, there are always other things we can use as fillers or trailing plants, but just fillers, anything to just place at the back, and that will be done eventually. But we want the stars of the show to be seen from the front, so we wouldn't put the Nemesia behind the rose here where my hands are going down the plant now, because would you be able to see it from where you are right now? No. You just see bits of pink bobbing in and out of the shot. That's not good. That's not what we want. That's not good design. Okay, so we can always fill in, if we want to be pedantic and make sure there's something in there, which we often do. We do put bits and pieces in there. We'll add something later on, but at the minute, this is what we need. Now, I'm going to add a little bit of the Grow More. I'm not being obsessive about it. It is nice to add into the mix, so to speak, and it just provides those nutrients, as I said, to the plants. Okay, perfect. Here we go. Got some lovely pots there that we can reuse. Remember, the last thing you want to be doing, I mean, if you want to protect them for recycling, that's wonderful, that's amazing. But if you've got pots to a gardener, you know, it's money in the bank, it's value. Do you know what I mean? You've got something there that you can use again when you're growing seeds, when you're potting on. You've got something to use. You can take the labels off, keep them, so you know what plants you've grown. But also, you can use these for so many other purposes in the garden. Find yourself a little space in the garden where you can store them. If you've got a shed or something like that, or a greenhouse, fantastic, put them in there. Greenhouse space is usually a little bit too valuable for that. But if you've got, you know, behind a shed, somewhere private where you can just store your pots out of the way and then reuse them, then eventually, if you do want to recycle them, take them to the proper recycling points. But yeah, that's fantastic. The compost is our usual multi-purpose compost. It's a good one, it's one we use all the time. I'm using this on here. I'm doing this on here because, for obvious reasons, as you've just seen, I do tend to make a little bit of a mess. So what I'll try to do, oh, lovely slug there. He's going to be moved. I'm just going to put him to one side. He'll be taken out of the garden later and placed on the field, the local field. We'll have a walk down. It's only at the end of the road, so literally he'll be going on there later where he can devour whatever he wants to devour, but it's not going to be in the garden. We didn't used to do this, but now we're doing something called slugging. It's the latest evening activity, and what we do is we go out at night time, collect the slugs in one of these pots. So hence the reason, keep your pots. We collect them in a pot. We believe that every life matters, and it does in life. You know, all our lives matter. So what we do, fill the pot up full slugs, take them away somewhere where they can just devour what they want to. That's the best way. They're out of the garden then, do you know what I mean? Otherwise you're just moving them from one part of the garden to the next, and that's not always the greatest. So, we're doing great. This is fantastic, this is looking good. Remember, when you're doing this is a very delicate job. So try to be as careful as possible. Remember, we do not want that soil level. I know you're looking at the minute and thinking, oh, the soil level's a bit, no, it's not, look. Well packed in there. There's a good lip. If you go over here, there's a lip there, and that's what we want. I'm not pressing anything down just yet. I'm just trying to fill in the gaps, okay? And then when it comes to that, I will do it. Remember, the Nemesia is very, very gentle, very, very delicate plant, so I need to be gentle around it. Okay. The rest I can sort of like push and pull into place. Well, that one's a little bit more problematic if you start doing that with it, because you're going to snap the flower stems, and that's not what you want when you're wanting some good blooms. Now I'm thinking I'll put a little bit more in there, but I do not want to go too mad for obvious reasons. So I'm going to push that soil level down a little bit. There's a fine line between having too much soil and too little compost, I should say. And I'll move this back round so you can see it in a second. I just need to make sure I see what I'm doing. Take any off the edges there. Now I think that's more than enough. More than. The last thing I want to do is to cause any damage to any of the plants, and also, mainly, I don't want runoff from the container itself. This is a beautiful container. This was Paul's mum's. She used to grow tomatoes in it. So Paul's mum passed away a few years back, and literally she used to grow tomatoes in this pot. So it's a valuable, has special meaning. I know that she'd be very pleased with this. Dot will definitely be very pleased with this. This is perfect. I love this bit, but again, I've made sure that there's not going to be any runoff. When it rains now, the plants will be watered, the soil will go down into the container and not spill over the sides. It's you know, it's so important that we keep that in mind when we're planting up a container. But look at that. That is stunning. Obviously, these plants will spread. The Nemesia itself, that will probably work its way backwards. You know, the poppy itself, the foliage, it will become bigger. Really, I don't think there is any more space for anything at the back. But if you did put something at the back, it would need to be at a shade lover, really, because it's going to be right at the back of this rose. And once the rose gets going, everything else gets going. It's going to be, you know, it's not going to have that much light, although it is full sun at the front of the house. So there you go. But that is fantastic. I absolutely love that. At the minute, you're thinking, oh, you know, yeah, how nice. But eventually, this will just turn into something truly amazing. I think it looks amazing now, as it is at the beginning, you know, as it is right now, at the beginning of its journey. But it will evolve as the months progress. So as we get into the coming months, it will evolve. And then obviously by autumn, winter, things change again. And it'll be potted, these plants will be taken out and something else will go in the place. And that's the way it works. It's like the circle of life. It's a cycle, it's never ending. And that's what I love about gardening. It's never the same. You know, if you have a garden, it's stayed the same for years and years and years. That's fantastic and you're happy with it, great. But sometimes, you know, it's nice to do different things. Even if you've got a really, really small garden or a balcony, it's nice to grow different plants. It's nice to change plants, swap with someone, you know, plants that you've been growing for years, maybe in a container or something, give them to someone else and allow yourself the opportunity to grow something new that you've not tried before. And that's what life's about. It shouldn't be always the same things. It should always be, you know, a variety. And that's what life's about. Anyway, this looks stunning. It's ready to go back on the front and I am very happy with the results. I hope that you are too. Remember to always, as I said, we use Grow More, feed your containers, you know, when you've planted them up again. Because they've got that initial burst of the compost, but you think the nutrients in there are not going to last very long, okay? So it does need a supplement, okay, to keep things going. And then obviously what we will do is we will feed them as well with our usual high potassium feed. We will feed them with our comfrey feed, and we have a video on that as well. Put the link on now on the screen for you. That's how to make the comfrey feed, because that's really important. And it just basically consists of airtight container, filling it 3/4 full with comfrey leaves, shredded, so shred them by hand. So get some comfrey in the garden. If you know someone with comfrey, ask can you have some of the leaves. Fill the container, so we use containers about that big. We fill it full of comfrey leaves, then what we do is put water over the top, seal it in the airtight container, leave it for a couple of months. You've got something when you open it, really, really gooey. It's horrible. The smell, the stench is awful, but it's well worth it. That is a feed that's naturally made, and apart from the container that you've had, you know, you've literally nurtured this horrible concoction in. You know, it's free. It's come from the garden. It's come from someone else's garden. The comfrey and the water's free. So, yeah, if you do that, take the container off. It smells awful after a couple of months. Literally, sieve that. Then you've got fresh comfrey feed. You can put that into bottles, feed your plants, water it. Try not to get it on the foliage as well, because sometimes it leaves like funny marks on the foliage if you just start watering the leaves and stuff like that. So get right in there with the rose of the watering can, and literally you will be astonished with the results. That can mean the difference between the garden flowering continually throughout the season, flowering its socks off, doing its thing, or literally just being mediocre and oh yeah, there's a flower beautifully, now the flowers are over. It keeps things going for longer. It really does keep the flowering growing. Obviously it's great as a tomato feed when you've got tomatoes, but our comfrey feed with the high potassium, absolutely amazing. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video on replenishing or rejuvenating this container. I hope you've enjoyed watching. If you have, please drop any comments in the comments box below. If you would click the like button as well, and do that with all our videos as you go along, just click the like button, really appreciate it. Also, if there's anything you'd like to buy from our little shop, please do so. And the most important thing, and I nearly forgot, is do not forget to water this container. I'll tell you a quick story before the video ends, okay? We were once at a local garden centre in Sheffield. It was in the area of Loxley, that's all I'll say. We were at this garden centre, it was a favourite of ours. And literally someone came back in with a hanging basket. It was dead. And the story goes that this person had taken the hanging basket home, didn't realise that she had to water it, and all the plants were just, it was just dry, dead foliage. She'd had it for so many weeks, she didn't want to complain. You know, all the flowers have died. She said, did you water it? She said, no, I didn't realise I had to water it. So when you're doing something like this, remember the plants are not in the ground. They can't go searching for moisture themselves, okay? They rely on what's in this container. Terracotta dries out really, really quickly. So you would need to keep on top of the watering. You don't want to waterlog your plants, but just, you can tell when they're happy, when they're being watered. You can also tell when they're sad and need a bit of water, okay? If you're watering, doing it right, the plants will thrive. If you're doing something wrong, either too much water or too little, they will let you know as well. Okay, so remember to water it. Anyway, we will see you very soon on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.